Noah is reincarnated as a noble one day, but there's a major problem. Just take a look at that status screen, nothing but pure Asian parent disappointment. He was born as the 13th prince of the imperial royal family, and the emperor is quite interested in seeing his new baby boy. He is informed that Noah's highest magic affinity is with water, so he decides to gift him a fief near the water as a first birthday present. And as soon as he says that, Noah notices something appear next to his E-rank water magic. The emperor then asks to see Noah's stat screen, and Noah is a little worried since with a report card like this, he'd definitely end up getting thrown in a dumpster, but miraculously, when his status screen is displayed, his water magic stat has changed from E to double S rank. Everything else is still a solid F, but who cares about that? A literal baby has the highest water magic stat any of them have ever seen, and it's a clear indication that he's going to be a genius water mage in the future, so the emperor takes a liking to Noah. The reason his water magic is SS rank is due to the fief that he was granted by his father at birth, although on his personal status screen, it still appears as an E plus S. The other increases to his stats came from his maids, and he's still not sure why, but it seems like the more servants he has, the stronger he becomes. As for his level, it's still only 1, but it can apparently be raised infinitely, so he's bound to become overpowered eventually. But for now, he's still pretty weak. While having breakfast, one of his maids, Evelyn, comes over to inform him that his brothers, specifically the 1st and 4th princes, have come to see him. Normally, being visited by your brothers would be a good thing, but in the past 6 years of his life, Noah has learnt that those two are massive jerks, so he has to be very careful when dealing with them. He heads to the lounge area to meet his brothers, and after formal greetings, the 1st prince announces that he brought a gift for Noah. He then calls for his servant to bring the gift in, and as soon as Noah sees the sword, it immediately becomes clear to him that that shit is cursed. He could literally see the tormented souls of the dead hovering around it, and Albert definitely knows this thing is haunted, but he's pretending that it's just a normal gift. There's no way Noah can refuse a gift from the crown prince, so he is forced to accept it even though he knows it probably won't end well. He grabs the handle and lifts it up as Albert casually explains that this is a water magic sword and over 120 knights have died trying to use it. Noah is startled when he hears this, so he loosens his grip on the sword. But the 4th prince tells him there's no need to worry because so far, everyone who was unworthy of the sword died the moment they picked it up, so if the curse was going to affect him, he would already be dead by now. The reason Noah is immune to the curse is likely thanks to his double S water magic attribute, and it's kind of reassuring to hear that he's not at risk of dying because of this thing, but Noah is still pissed at the fact that Albert just risked his life for a dumb experiment, but he can't say that out loud. So he just waits for Albert to get up and leave on his own so he can have some peace and quiet. Later that day, Noah is walking through the halls with one of his maids, Zoe, and he notices that she seems to be unhappy, so he asks her if something is wrong. Zoe doesn't want to bother Noah by talking about her problems, so she's fine, but Noah is certain that she's not fine, so he orders her to tell him what the problem is immediately. Zoe complies and tells Noah she actually wants to take some time off work to handle family matters. Noah asks what family matters she's referring to, so she explains that her hometown recently experienced a flood and her mother's farm was washed away, so she currently has no means of sustaining herself. Zoe asked for advice on how she could raise enough money to rebuild the farm, and she was told the only way would be to work in the red light district for a while, which is what she intended to do during her time off, but Noah won't stand for it. He tells her he's going to give her mother a job. After all, he's been meaning to hire a professional rear gate closer, and since she's coming with a recommendation, he will pay her 10 reen a month. Zoe asks Noah if he's sure about this because 10 reen is much higher than the standard salary, and she has never heard of a rear gate closer job, but that's because Noah just made it up. He wants to help Zoe out, and it's his money anyway, so who's going to stop him? He also tells her that he has an old house on the outskirts of town, and she and her mother can stay there so they don't have to worry about rent either. Zoe has served him faithfully all his life, so there's no way he would let her sell her body in the red light district because of a flood. But speaking of the flood, there's one more thing Noah needs to do. He calls for his butler, Dylan, and orders him to make arrangements to buy up as much of the flood-damaged land as possible. Both Dylan and Zoe are shocked to hear this, but Noah explains that there are bound to be con artists who would try to scam all the innocent people who just lost their livelihoods, so he wants to secure them before that happens. Dylan is left utterly speechless because he can't believe Noah was able to predict the outcomes so far ahead, even though he has so little experience as a 6-year-old. Noah experienced this kind of thing a lot during his past life, but he can't tell them that, so he just moves on without giving an explanation. Dylan is more than happy to help Noah procure the land, but he asks how they are going to acquire the funds to do so, since by his rough estimates, it would cost around 700,000 rein to pull that off. Zoe is shocked when she hears that number, and Noah doesn't blame her because it is practically a small fortune. The average adult here in the capital only earns 120 rein a year, and that's enough to afford a family, a house, and good food. Noah's household is obviously richer than the average adult, but even then, he only has about 500,000 rein to work with, so he needs to find a way to raise another 200,000 soon. He doesn't have many options, so he decides to sell the fief he owns, but Dylan tells him he can't do that. The land was a gift from the emperor, and selling it without permission would be a crime against the imperial family. Noah is aware of that, but he still wants to do it anyway because he has no other option, and he is willing to take whatever punishment his father decides to give him as a result. The next day, Noah and his retainers are busy making preparations to head to the flooded lands when he receives an unexpected visit from the fourth prince, Henry. Albert may be a jerk, but Henry is actually pretty nice once you get to know him, and he is genuinely concerned about Noah, so he came to warn him that the sword Albert gave him has a will of its own, so even if he is immune to the curse, he is still going to need to earn its recognition before he can use it safely. Noah takes his advice to heart, and shortly after, he departs for the village of Dasso. Upon arrival, he discovers that the word flood damage is a bit of an understatement for what happened here because it looks like Kratos and Poseidon had a fist fight out here. From the looks of things, Noah can tell that most of the homeowners must have lost their documents in the flood, so he orders Dylan to head to the government office and find all the copies he can get his hands on to make the purchase go smoother. In the meantime, Noah decides to head down there personally to see how the people are holding up after the flood. Zoe tries to stop him since reconnaissance isn't a job for a prince, but he tells her he's going whether she likes it or not, so she can either come with him or wait in the carriage until he returns. Zoe reluctantly agrees to go with Noah to investigate, and the situation is just as bad as it looks. All the crops have been completely destroyed, so there's no chance of there being a harvest this year, and without a harvest, the villagers won't be able to survive. Just then, Noah hears a bell ring and notices that all the villagers have started gathering in what used to be the town square. Zoe assumes that this must be for food distribution since the Empire provides disaster relief funds to all regions affected by natural disasters like these. Noah thinks it's good that this region's disaster relief system is functioning as intended, and he heads over to join the villagers in their meal. But the second he tastes the food, he takes back everything good he just said about this place. He has tasted British food that's less depressing than this sad excuse for a broth, and he's pretty sure the vegetables used here were rotten. One of the villagers hears Noah complaining about the food, and unaware of Noah's identity as a prince, he assumes he must be another unfortunate victim of the flood. He tells Noah that the food is always like this, and even if they complain, nothing is done about it because the people who made the food couldn't care less about dumb things like health or food poisoning. Just then, Noah hears a loud announcement about an inspection, so he asks Zoe what it's about and she informs him that the local government official, Lord Garrel, is here to inspect the quality of the food. Garrel walks up to the pot of mystery stew, and he thinks it looks like absolute shit, but he's not the one who has to eat it, so he doesn't care. He tells the chef to prepare some actual food for him back at the mansion, and the chef happily agrees since they both have an agreement. However, Noah refuses to let such callous behavior go unpunished. He confronts Garrel and asks him if he's allowing such substandard food to be served because he's pocketing the rest of the food budget for himself, and Garrel believes that Noah is just another powerless peasant. So he openly admits that he's skimming the food budget because he thinks there's nothing Noah can do about it. Listening to Garrel brag about stealing from starving flood survivors makes Noah's blood boil, so much so that the cursed sword begins to react. Garrel has had enough of listening to this random kid's disrespect, so he takes out his sword and prepares to slay him, but before he could do so, the Leviathan's sword flies out from its case and arrives next to Noah. Noah's strong will and sense of justice were enough for the sword to acknowledge him as a worthy wielder, so now that he is able to use its power, he effortlessly slices Garrel's head off for the crime of embezzling funds and threatening a royal prince. Soon after, Lord Rowan, Garrel's boss, shows up, and the guards try to convince him to have Noah arrested for killing Garrel. But as soon as Rowan sees Noah, he immediately recognizes him as the 13th prince and kneels to show his respect. Noah tells Rowan that they need to have a long chat regarding the situation here, which is a polite way of saying Rowan is in deep trouble for letting Garrel get away with this for so long. He says he has already punished Garrel, but the accomplices who helped him steal those funds are still over there, so he expects Rowan to deal with them appropriately. But in the meantime, Noah orders him to have a decent meal prepared for the people here. Later on, after Noah has completed the purchase of the village, Albert receives a report on what Noah has done, and he's surprised that his brother was able to use the sword without suffering any drawbacks, but he still has more plans in store for him in the future. Meanwhile, Noah is called into a meeting with his father to explain himself. He was fully expecting to be reprimanded for selling his land to buy a flood-damaged village, but to his surprise, the emperor actually thanks him. If Noah hadn't done what he did, then the damages suffered by those people would have been far greater. He can clearly see that Noah is a capable young man, so he asked him to continue serving the empire with everything he has, and Noah happily agrees. This is the end of episode 1. Subscribe to not miss the next part.